You've heard about emotional intelligence. Have you heard or experienced the flip side, emotional toxicity? We want to talk about what does that mean? How can you use your emotional intelligence to combat it, to make sure that you are providing a safe space for people to work in, and also that you're not getting victimized and you're able to make sure that your team delivers what they need to do in your corner of the project world. So let's get into it. So, Elena, what do we mean by emotional intelligence?
Okay, so we've done a video on emotional intelligence before, so if you haven't seen it, check it out here. However, just to recap some of those things, so what we mean by emotional intelligence, there's a few things that make this up. So first of all, we're talking about the ability to be self-aware. So within the workplace, look at those things that maybe trigger you, how your emotional state is, how you react to other people within a emotional context. But it's important to look at how you actually respond to situations of maybe stress when things aren't going wrong, but also about how we relate and speak and look at how other people are reacting as well, and how we take all of that on board. When we're talking about emotional intelligence, we're also looking at our own motivation to do work, and the difference between what motivates us and also being self-disciplined, knowing that you need to get things done. So emotional intelligence, a lot about reflection, a lot about awareness, a lot about empathy and how we treat people. Honor, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I think you captured it perfectly. So, shall we go over to the dark side now?
The dark side.
So, emotional toxicity. Unfortunately, we've probably come across it every now and again in our working life. So, emotional toxicity is, in a way, the flip side of emotional intelligence, where you've got an environment which is just negative. You've got negative emotions, you've got negative behaviors. And some of those negative behaviors are things like bullying, things like manipulation, good old gaslighting, discrimination, um, incivility, or rudeness, lack of trust. This might be pinging for some people that, yes, this sounds like my environment. So if that sounds like your environment, first of all, sorry girl, I'm sorry that that's what you're experiencing. Then let's try and take them one by one. What can we do if we are in that kind of environment to safeguard ourselves and also to safeguard a team if we are leading a team? So, bullying, Elena,
Mm.
what should somebody do if they are being bullied or a team member is being bullied?
So bullying in any shape form is just not acceptable at all. And whereas you can try to approach the bully to ask them why they're doing this, and to try to get to the bottom of it, actually, if it's yourself being bullied, then I would probably go escalate the situation, speak to your manager, speak to HR, speak to someone who's in a position of authority, and discuss with them what has been happening and your feelings towards what has been happening, because it's important that you get across how it's affecting you.
Yeah.
With regards to your team, it's about listening to your team members, understanding how they feel, and again, escalating the situation. Obviously, this time you're the manager, so speak to the person involved, or again, maybe speak to the person involved with HR once you've got all of the facts from your colleagues to establish exactly what has happened. And it's important that you get those facts and that those facts are very clear as well, so that it's approached in the right way. What about yourself, Honor?
I think picking up from what you've just said, you've got the facts. Now you need to put together a plan, and a plan that you will socialize with the team member to make sure that it's something that will work for that team member as well. So you don't ever want to just pay lip service to the fact that somebody's let you know that they're being bullied, especially if you're leading that team. If you're not leading that team, definitely show empathy, give some advice. But when you're leading that team, you need to take action. So
Mhm.
you've got the facts, come up with some solutions, talk it over with the person involved, make sure they're comfortable with what you're suggesting should be done, and then take that action and make sure you update the team member on how things are going. Just the fact that you're taking that action, that you're communicating to them about what's happening, it'll make the person, they'll start feeling better, knowing that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that this situation will soon come to a positive end. So that would be the main thing I would do in addition to what you've already said.
Yeah.
So
And sorry, Anna,
go
I
on,
was just going to
Maggie.
say, we were talking earlier, and you mentioned the facts in addition to making sure that you've got everything down. One of the ways of ensuring that you've summarised everything is by keeping notes or a track of the behaviour that's happening
Yeah.
to you as it happens. Do you want to expand on that point?
Yeah, exactly. Because when these things happen, it's it's one of the things, depending on the how toxic the environment is, people might want to brush off what you're saying as, oh, that's just your perception, that's your feelings. But by
Mm.
documenting it, when it happened, where it happened, who was involved, exactly what happened, gives you the information you need to be able to state your case clearly, unemotionally, and get across the severity of what's happening and why something needs to happen about it.
Indeed, we were saying earlier as well, it gives you a chance to reflect. And as you're writing things down, you realise it's not just you, you're not going crazy.
Yeah,
These things have happened to you.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and it's not good. But like you say, you've got a record and you've got something to take forward.
Yeah, that's such a great point, Elena. The fact that you're reflecting as well. So you're giving yourself reassurance that, oh, you haven't misunderstood the situation. You haven't misconstrued anything. This is really happening. Yes.
Mm,
And then what to do about it. So, what about plain old rudeness?
yeah.
People are being rude to you, being rude to your team, lack of courtesy. What's your suggestion?
I think with this point, I would talk to the person themselves because it's about looking at why they're behaving that way. I mean, again, you shouldn't have to because nobody should, you know, treat you in that respect. But we work in projects, so we work in a environment of change, and
Yeah.
there could be other things that are affecting their behaviour. And again, shouldn't be justified. But if you by talking to them, you can find out why they're behaving that way. Are they simply intimidated by you? Are they doing something in terms of projects that are making them a bit uncertain? Speak to them, try to find out why they're acting in the way that they're acting.
Yeah, there may be a reason for why a person is acting that way, and you should take the time to try and identify that. That's part of you being emotionally intelligent. You
Mhm.
can take the time to reflect about what you've experienced and filter it through a calm lens as to, is this just a misunderstanding, or is this person really doing this? And once you've made that determination, and don't second guess yourself as well, we're telling you to take a step back, think it through, look at the situation. Once you've had and you've made your determination, trust yourself and go with what you've decided. Because as the kind of reasonable, kick ass project people that we are, I'm sure that you're not just going to be pulling it out of the air, basically.
Agreed. And as you said, Anna, when you're looking at how they are behaving and treating you and taking that step back, also just look to see how they're treating other people. Is it
Yeah,
just you they're treating in that way, or are they just generally rude to everybody? Because if they are, that might be symptomatic of either something they're going through or part of their personality.
yeah, yeah. That's a solid point. And, you know, what I think about, because we've all experienced it, someone who's just rude to everybody, and that still doesn't make it okay,
Mm-hmm.
but at least you know it's not personal. And for me, I limit my interactions with that person. So it's because, yeah, you're rude to everybody, but I don't have to take it, basically. So I would severely limit my interactions with that person to just what is needed for
Mm-hmm.
the job, basically. But it is important, especially as we live in a neurodiverse world where we are getting more and more understanding about the different neurodiverse conditions, what I call it. It's important to understand when, yes, it is their personality or it is the way what they have to do to be able to cope in the work environment. Educating yourself about this will help you determine how you react, because sometimes an arsehole is an arsehole and sometimes they're
Yep.
not. So being self-aware, being able to learn how to pick up on cues is going to go a long way to help you essentially diagnose the problem and decide the right course of action.
Indeed.
So, manipulation. This is where gaslighting comes into play. What would you do? And then this is where we have my big pet peeve of when people are using weaponized tears. So let's start
Mm.
with gaslighting and then move into weaponized tears.
I think with this, it's a combination. You have to be emotionally aware as well. This is where, you know, that emotional intellect comes in, because this is the one that gets you second guessing yourself. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, are they saying that? Is it true? And I think sometimes people need help in determining when it is gaslighting and when it isn't gaslighting.
Yeah.
So you need to be really self-aware and remember who you are and what you know to be true. Again, for me, this one is about approaching people and getting them to realise what their behaviours are. Um, could be again that they don't realise that they're doing it, because I do think that lots of people who do gaslight don't realise that they're doing it. They just think that they are being a certain way or they are telling their truth. That's just the thing. Sometimes I think, yeah, you're telling your truth. It's a term that gets me sometimes. But yeah, what about yourself on this one?
Yeah. So gaslighting, you know, telling your truth, we hear it a lot, but there's this saying about there's their story, your story, and then the truth. You know, it's kind of like human nature that we have to tell a story in a way that favors us. This is why I'm a
Mm-hmm.
big fan of getting to the facts, settling yourself, and reflecting on what it is. So
Mm.
there's also a big thing about your own instinct. If you're
Mm.
questioning it, already there's something there that bears investigating, that bears questioning. And
Yeah.
you have to be willing and ready to confront it, because we spend a heck of a lot of time at work to have to deal with the mental pain, I'll call it, of
Yeah.
somebody gaslighting you, and which will result in you losing confidence in yourself. And we're not about that at all.
Mm.
If you lose confidence in that, you know, you thought you were great at running business analysis workshops, because of this person, you're now questioning how you come across in workshops, how you write your user stories or documents. No, that's why it's not something that you can ignore. Solicit opinions from other people around you
Mm-hmm.
just to sense check it as well, but always approach the person with the facts of the situation
Yep.
and say to them, this, and this occurred on this, and this day. I'd like to talk to you about, I was going to say how it affected me, but no, because people who are deliberately gaslighting you, they don't care about how it affects you.
Exactly.
They don't care about that at all. So you want to put it through the lens of how it's affecting what you're trying to deliver, and how there needs to be a shift so that you guys can continue on effective delivery. So basically, don't make it personal, even though the fact that the person is trying to your mind is a heck of a lot of personal, very personal. Don't make it personal, and
Agreed.
stick to the facts and talk about what needs to be happen to make sure that you guys can deliver what you're there to deliver.
Yeah. I think that's a lot about setting those barriers in place, making sure that people know where to draw the line, and you making it then clear to them that this is acceptable and this isn't acceptable. It's
Yeah,
really important to have clear boundaries.
yeah, exactly. So my favorite, weaponized tears.
Yes.
Have you been on the unfortunate recipient of somebody who has used weaponized tears? So basically, you're in a meeting in the office and something's going down and they start to cry. My personal opinion is that unless somebody's dead, I don't see why you're crying in the office. Especially as they're crying and they don't go, excuse yourself to the toilet or something. No, they sit there and stand there and crying. It feels a bit like theater, but we're not going to make assumptions. We're going to have a plan of how you deal with it effectively. What do you
Yeah.
think, Alina?
So just to be clear, we're not talking about those situations where something emotional or bad has happened to them. We're not that heartless. It may appear that way, but we're really not. We're talking about you're in a meeting, it's a professional meeting, there's probably two of you. You're talking about deliverables, objectives, anything to do with the project, and the person starts crying because of something you said in relation to that project or program that you're running. It has happened to me. There was a HR director, and every conversation I had with her, apart from my introductory meeting, she would end up in tears. And for me, if you're working in HR, I understand that you have to be, empathetic to people. But she would just cry at any point. It'd be like, well, have you considered doing this? And she would take it as, you don't feel I'm doing my job properly. It was like, well, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm making a suggestion as to how we could do something. And what I did is I spoke to our exec director, and it turned out that was who she was. She'd previously been to a meeting with our trustees, and they had suggested something different to what she had in her plan. And again, the tears came out. It was her normal behaviour. However, there are issues with that, managerial issues and leadership issues. The exec director, it's not something that she should be accepting of someone in that situation. So, yeah, speak to, escalate it if need be. If you can't get anywhere by talking to the person individually, it needs to be escalated. You can't be in a situation where you're being blamed for someone's emotional, I don't know, composure,
That's a good word.
with tears. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good word, composure, because we're talking about being emotionally intelligent. Are you emotionally intelligent if you can't compose yourself?
Mm-hmm.
You obviously don't understand your emotions, and you sure as heck can't regulate them,
Yeah.
because someone who is emotionally intelligent and has good communication skills, you start feeling overwhelmed by whatever the situation is. The sensible thing to do is to say, excuse me, I need to take a break here. You take a break, you go away, compose yourself, come back. Or if you
Mm-hmm.
feel that going to need longer time, you'll be like, sorry, but I need to postpone this meeting. I'll be in touch to reschedule. To me, that's the professional thing to do, not to
Mm-hmm.
sit there shedding tears. And unfortunately, we hear a lot of stories then that from shedding tears then comes blame and pointing fingers about
Mm-hmm.
how we made them feel.
Yeah,
No,
she made me cry.
she made me cry.
The
Exactly.
aggressive black woman made me cry.
Exactly.
Mm.
And we want none of that. So, my tip for how you handle that is, as the emotionally intelligent, kick ass person you are, you should say to them, I can see you need a break. Let's break here and we'll come back in a few minutes. If they're not ready in a few minutes, you'll be like, okay, let's reschedule. Take that responsibility from them, do that, and bring it to a pause. Then I would get in touch with their line manager and say, hey, and in writing, please. And I would say, hey, we were in such and such a circumstance. I was discussing XYZ with this person, and this is what happened. Please let me know if there's anything I can do to support said person. And in the meantime, I'm looking for a way to resolve blah, blah, blah. Would you like to join us at our next meeting
Mm-hmm.
so that we can work this through? And that does two things. One, it shows that you care about their
A bit more
whatever.
convincing, Donna.
Huh?
A bit more convincing that you care.
Well, you care about your career and you care about somebody not um, using that as an opportunity to tarnish your reputation. Yeah, you
Yeah,
care about that.
yeah.
So you've demonstrated that, and you've specified exactly what happened, and you've got somebody else involved so that there won't be too many basically getting into she said thing, and hopefully the fact that you've been proactive. I haven't come across a line manager that enjoys dealing with tears. They'll
Mm.
want to resolve it as quickly as they can as well, and you'll get support from them to resolve it. There's certain people, unfortunately, that it's known that this is what they do, and so nobody will take a one-on-one meeting with them.
Yeah,
People always want backup because in case the
yeah.
tears come rolling out. So the tears is very much about them,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to maintain your professionality and deal with it in a professional way,
Indeed.
because no, this is not an opportunity for them to label you angry black woman, aggressive black woman, or anything of the sort. So no, we believe in supporting people, but starting to cry because you've been asked for your project plan and you don't have it.
Yeah,
No, it's not a good look, and we're not here for it at all. So if unfortunately you have a colleague that does that, have a plan. Have
yeah,
a plan and enact the plan, and don't ever let them do anything like, oh, let's not tell anybody. No, you better tell, because they will be telling.
yeah.
And
Exactly. They will
yeah,
have a record of all the times you made me cry. Yeah.
exactly, they will, and it will be that narrative.
Mm.
So as you can see from this is what I consider the worst, the worst emotionally toxic behavior, especially as we get it a lot. It's used against us a lot.
Yeah.
It's used
And I
against
think
us a
the thing
lot.
is, Anna, it's happening more often. And I don't know if it's a generational thing amongst a certain ethnicity, but it does seem to be happening more and more often. I mean, the fact that we have stories we can compare, you know,
Mm,
is a big thing.
mm. Yeah, and that's it. Ladies, guys, because unfortunately, it's not just the ladies that experience it. Guys, share your stories. Go into the comment box and let us know, what have you experienced? What madness have you had to navigate? And how did you do it? Because there
Mhm.
is more than one way to navigate it. Please share what you experienced.
Indeed.
So, Elena, lack of trust. You've got somebody who is basically checking you for no reason,
Yeah.
hiding things, suspicious.
Yeah.
What
What
do
do
you
you
do?
do? again, for me, this is one where you go and talk to the person, because a lack of trust, there's usually, in a working environment, there's a fear behind it. So whether it's a fear that they're going to lose their power by giving you information, it's a
Yeah.
fear that they think that you're better than them and you're going to take their job. If a fear of, wanting to present something to managers first, because if you do that again, you'll be perceived in a better light than them. Find out what the root of it is. This is one you might not get to the bottom of. And if you can't, then find a different way to communicate and get that information.
Yeah.
What about
Yeah.
yourself, Anna?
I think that is really it, Elena. Get to the bottom of it and really, really understand it is very much a them problem as opposed to a you problem. Get to
Mm,
the bottom of it. Make sure that other people are aware of what's happening and propose solutions. So
yeah,
if sometimes you get those kind of words like, "Oh, it's not clear to me what you're doing." Make it clear what you're doing.
yeah,
You know, I was expecting the report at this time. It's like, oh, okay, so that's a misunderstanding. Let's agree that the report will come this time at this time. Provide solutions. And in the end, even the most jaded person will see that you are providing solutions and that, hey,
mhm,
this is not a you problem.
yeah,
However, in that rare occasion where the office is basically a toxic cesspit, you need to get out.
yeah. Start
You need
looking
to
for
get
that
out.
plan. Yeah,
Mm, mm.
start looking at that plan for how you are going to leave, do your next thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the reasons why we have started the collective so
Hmm.
that we have this supportive community to support each other as we experience the whole range of things that happen in the project world. And we provide skills, we provide coaching, mentoring, and then that community so that you can learn what you need to learn, develop knowledge, and then have the community to support you as you grow your career the way you want to grow it, as you push through any barriers to get to where you need to go to. So scan the QR code on the screen to join the waiting list, or click on the link in the description box to join the waiting list. And feel free to let us know the kind of things that you would love to see inside the community. So, Elena, we've talked about why it's important to continually develop your emotional intelligence and the kinds of things
Yeah.
that you might experience in terms of emotional toxicity. Any closing words about how you can maintain?
Yeah, I think it's always important to remember who you are, to trust your instincts, and accept that sometimes these things happen and it's not your fault.
Yeah,
If you can talk to people yourself, do that. But there is nothing wrong with escalating, seeking additional help, going to HR, talking to your tribe, speaking to us. There's nothing wrong with getting help in order to make yourself feel comfortable at work. As Anna said earlier, this is a place where you spend the majority of your day. It's important that you enjoy what you do and the environment that you do it in.
yeah, exactly. Um, because that's one of the worst things about emotional toxicity, that feeling that you're alone and that
Mhm.
there are no solutions, but there are solutions and there's tactics, and sometimes you just need to talk it through with someone. And we're just on the other line end of an email or a DM, and you can book in a one-to-one coaching session with us, and we would be happy to work through with you on strategies for how to tackle this kind of situation, because we've kind of been a little bit jokey, but it's serious in that this is the kind of thing that not only will hurt you mentally, but also will stifle your career. And we're not about that at all. We want all of us to develop our careers and continue to grow, to get to the levels that we want to get to.
Yeah. And just to say as well, when these things happen, even when they get resolved, don't feel that it will have taken you an emotional toll on you, or may have taken an emotional toll on you. Sometimes it takes some time to get back to being yourself, or feeling, I don't want to say normal, but, feeling yourself. So as well, if you need to seek external help through, you know, therapy or counselling or anything else, again, no shame in that. Make sure you get that done. It's important that you look after yourself and your own mental health.
Yeah, exactly. I know there's a debate in our community at the moment about the term strong black woman, but I like to still hold on to that term strong black woman, because to me, in that strength, you know when to ask for help.
Yeah.
So, ladies, guys, in whatever you're encountering, remember that there is a way through. Ask for the help you need and just continue excelling and growing in your career. Till next time.